Here's what's coming up on your horizon. Well, Oklahoma's film scene continues to grow. This fall, multiple projects were in production, while 2 new feature films are headed to the state, thanks in part to the Oklahoma Film Enhancement Rebate Program. Today, we begin our show with a behind-the-scenes look at movie making in Oklahoma.
I was really drawn to making this story because I'm always drawn to stories of people that are trying to hold themselves together while falling apart.
Courtney May takes us to northeastern Oklahoma to meet the young man behind some of the most creative commercials you'll see on television.
We've always been booked out probably 3 to 6 months for like 8 years. I don't think very many people in business could even ever say that. And I think being in Oklahoma plays a part of that.
We meet the people behind a popular podcast based in an alternative Oklahoma.
Who knew that hedonism plus Oklahoma was going to be the thing that started the fire.
And we end our day with some healthy holiday habits. Stay with us for Oklahoma Horizon.
Oklahoma Horizon is made possible by CareerTech, a job for every Oklahoman and a workforce for every company. With additional support from the Oklahoma Department of Agriculture, Food, and Forestry.
Hello everyone, thanks for joining us here on Horizon. I'm Rob McClendon. Well, long gone are the days of Hollywood being the only place to make it in showbiz. Now, film crews are looking to the rest of the country to make the next big blockbuster, including right down the street from our studio in Stillwater. Much of that is thanks to a new initiative to grow the film industry in Oklahoma. Blaine Singletary went on set to catch all the lights, cameras, and action.
This once peaceful neighborhood in Stillwater was woken up after a violent overnight confrontation. But don't worry, it's all showbiz.
Well, tonight we're shooting the finale of the movie. It's the end of our first week.
That's James Cullen Bressick, the director of the film If Looks Could Kill, shot on location in Stillwater, Oklahoma. At the time we were invited on set, the film was being called Stillwater as well.
Well, Stillwater is a story of a young woman who recently became a police officer and suspects her best friend slash love interest's new girlfriend of being a killer of sorts. I was really drawn to making this story because I'm always drawn to stories of people that are trying to hold themselves together while falling apart.
It's this director's vision that everything should be as organic as possible. The police cars are real, the uniforms are real, even the extras are Stillwater residents. This is not a soundstage in LA.
It was always going to take place in Stillwater. You know, as a filmmaker, I think, the most important thing is having authenticity in the stories that we tell. And so being able to tell that story in the town of Stillwater was important.
And authenticity is far from the only benefit that brought them here. Shooting on location also means working with a different blend of crew members. Laura Beth Love is the director of photography on set.
So I think we've got about half of our camera and G&E departments. Just about half are our Oklahoma locals. And so far, it's been fantastic to have a blend of the two. It's always great when you're out on travel shows to have different people around, and you get to see different personalities and different skill sets and whatever. It's very different, it's different pace from LA, Hollywood, LA life.
And as for the actors, a change of scene can really help one get into character. Tomek Kasalka and Andrew Appleyard play 2 of the lead roles in the film.
I prefer being on location, personally. It really grounds me more towards the character. Here I am, I'm removed from my comforts and my habits. All I have to do is focus on what I've got no other distractions.
You never know what's really going to happen. Get on to the set and get into the scene. You really discover a lot of different things, and being on set, have an actual place to go to is an incredible experience.
But the major incentive, and one that some hope will attract even more films like this one to the state, is a competitive cash rebate plan. Tava Sofsky, director of the State Film and Music Office, told us why this is important.
People usually think, why should the state offer this cash rebate program if it's only going to affect the film community, which is important, but there's so much more to it.
Basically, if a film production shoots any scene in Oklahoma, has a budget of at least $50,000, and spends at least $25,000 of that in Oklahoma, they can apply for a cash rebate of 35%. That becomes 37% if they also hire a local musician for their soundtrack. And it's not just the cast and crews who will benefit from this. For example, imagine if a TV series, like the next Breaking Bad or Walking Dead, decided to film in the Sooner State.
That's long-term job growth for, caterers and bakers and seamstresses and so forth. Anything that you love to do, style hair, apply makeup, that there's something for them. Films, televisions, commercials, music videos, all of that is helping grow our industry.
And with the extra experience crews are getting these days, with more films coming through the state, things are already starting to pay off. Again, James Cullen Bressick.
They have really competent crews and people that are, it's becoming a really great place to film movies. And I think a lot of productions are going to start moving over here.
And Laura Beth Love says she can't wait to have more locals on board.
In LA, everybody grew up with it. It's not special necessarily, it's less special. It's more of a business sometimes. But then when we go out to other places, there's a different vibe that you get. People are a little more excited, or just differently excited about it. And so that's a cool vibe to have on set and to feed onto that and have that show up on screen.
And even though this film will wrap up shooting in Stillwater in just 2 weeks, it's only the beginning for showbiz in the state.
I grew up watching movies, and watching movies is what inspired me to want to make movies. And hopefully, seeing something made in Oklahoma will inspire people who live in Oklahoma to go out there and want to make movies too. I think you're going to see a lot more productions coming to Oklahoma.
If Looks Could Kill is coming soon to DVD. We have more information on that on our website at okhorizon.com. Now when we return, we go inside Retrospect Films in Broken Arrow, Oklahoma.
You're watching Oklahoma Horizon with Rob McClendon. Weekly insight into your changing world.
At 32 years old, this next entrepreneur is one of the youngest film directors and cinematographers in the business. Jason Burks is the owner of Retrospect Films in Broken Arrow, a business that he dreamed up while he was still in high school. Join us now to tell us more about Retrospect is our very own Courtney May.
Well, Rob, for Burks, it all started in his computer technology class at Broken Arrow High School. Because of this class, he began competing in Business Professionals of America events and discovered he had a special talent. And at just 17 years old, he started his own company.
Right there.
A 17-year-old's dream is now 12,000 square feet of reality. Jason Burks is the owner of Retrospect Films in Broken Arrow, a production company he created as a senior in high school.
I spent the last hour each school day working on building a video company, and the idea was that someday this might be something realistic. It showed me a way that I could start developing a skill set and a career that didn't end when I graduated high school. It was something that I might be able to turn into an actual job. And so it gave me a lot more purpose, and it gave me a passion. I was excited.
Burks decided to forego college, and he immediately entered the workforce.
I was out meeting with clients, really low budget stuff, but I was learning how to understand marketing objectives, learn how to deal with customers, learn how to take notes. I was writing all the scripts, then I'd go shoot everything, then I'd bring it back and edit it. That's what I do, it's just at a much larger scale.
As a kid straight out of high school, Burks had to grow up fast, so potential clients would take him serious. He mastered the art of not only marketing his company, but marketing himself.
I've always tried to be so sharp that they would just have to go, I don't know, he knows a lot more about it than I do, so I'm going to trust him. And I think that would be the objective that I had to overcome or whatever was sitting around and going, how can I make sure that I'm so sharp, I'm so on time, I'm dressed professional, and being as good at marketing and marketing concepts and sales concepts as I was as being a filmmaker.
Fast forward 14 years, and Burks is no longer a one-man band, producing more than 800 television commercials for regional and national brands. Retrospect Films is the largest production company of its kind in Oklahoma.
There's guys doing post-production, round the clock, editing, pulling in footage, ingesting it, figuring out the story. There's guys that are doing visual effects. They're going on compositing, coloring. Got a producer who's sitting around making phone calls, casting talent, looking at all that jazz, finding locations, taking photos. And then there's me who I'm writing, I'm shooting and directing, and then I feel like in the evenings I'm trying to figure out how to run the company.
Burks' company has taken him all over the world. He's competing with top companies in LA and New York, and he's doing it with an Oklahoma cost of living.
This is my home. I know people here, and that means something to me. There's been a lot of opportunity. There's just opportunity here, and you don't find that everywhere. We've generated talent in this area, and yet we're not in this super high cost of living area of the country. And so that just kind of plays to it. I mean, we have never not been booked, ever. I mean, we've always been booked out probably 3 to 6 months for like 8 years. I don't think very many people in business could even ever say that. And I think being in Oklahoma plays a part of that.
But for Burks, it's more than a business. It's an opportunity to tell a story that hasn't been told and create content that generates emotion.
We say creating things worth watching. That's what we always say. And that's true. We also say things like telling stories the way they should be told. And so for us, the passion really has always been telling a story or a message in a way that's engaging, that's emotional, that's exciting, that's motivating, that causes some movement, causes some tears, causes some energy. That's what it's always been about. I think I get inspired by other good work. I like to go to the movies and see stuff and let it challenge me. I like to see things that I don't think we can do, because then I want to figure out how we can do it.
Retrospec is continuously growing and adding job opportunities to the Tulsa area, with multiple positions open now. And Burks said he's looking for special people who have the same motivation he has.
So I'm kind of curious, where does the name Retrospec come from?
Well, Burks wanted something that had special meaning. And in film, anything that you're watching has been shot in the past. So that's where retro came from. And he says that the word spec in broadcasting is often used for spec lighting, which means harsh lighting. So he felt it was a perfect name for his production company.
All right. Thanks so much, Courtney.
You're welcome, Rob.
Now, if you would like to hear firsthand Jason's perspective on how he's gotten where he is, we do have his full presentation at this year's annual CareerTech Summer Conference, streaming on our website at okhorizon.com.
Still to come on Oklahoma Horizon. Healthy holiday habits. But first, the theater of the mind.
Well, in the world of broadcast, what was old is new again. The old radio serials that our parents and grandparents listened to are inspiring a new generation of artists. Our Austin Moore introduces us to an Oklahoman who created a podcast called Pleasure Town.
The first commercial radio station was licensed in 1920. Quiz shows, comedies, dramas, mysteries, westerns. There was something for everyone.
And that's with the U.S. Marshal and the smell of gun smoke.
This was the golden age of radio, when the medium dominated household entertainment. Then came television in the 1950s, and radio was never the same. Today, there is a resurgence in the art form. Podcasting, where audio files are recorded, but rather than being broadcast, they're made available online, on demand. And that has given rise to a new age in oral storytelling.
The barrier for entry is very minimal. You need to have a microphone, you need to have something that will record, and you need to have an internet connection. And that's it.
Oklahoma native Aaron Cahoe is a podcaster and performance artist working in Chicago.
So of course there are thousands upon thousands upon thousands of podcasts. Some of them very high quality, some of them maybe not so much quality, and diverse topics, just anywhere.
But Cahoe doesn't produce his podcast just anywhere. He and co-producer Keith Ecker created an idea so bold it It was picked up by Chicago Public Radio's WBEZ, the station that created This American Life, Wait, Wait, Don't Tell Me, and the True Life mystery podcast, Serial. Their show, reminiscent of the golden era radio dramas, is called Pleasure Town.
Around the turn of the last century, a group of folk built their dream, a town where happiness was the main objective. But, as history has shown, death catches up to everyone. So stand ready and join us as we return to Pleasure Town.
It's basically like the flip of the puritanical. People just try to live righteously, and our people are just trying to live on what makes them happy. And that can mean a lot of different things to a lot of different people.
I don't even know exactly when it happened, but I know one day I woke up here and I was all right not knowing what day it was. I was all right not knowing who I'd meet today. I was all right not having everything planned out for me.
Kehoe drew on his childhood in western Oklahoma to find the perfect setting for the fictional Pleasure Town.
It was the clean break that Oklahoma history offers, from the land run to the Dust Bowl. It's about a period of 50 years. So, this genesis starting from, undeveloped land and the tragedy that drove a lot of people away.
For once in my life, I was something other than a burden, and that was enough to make me forsake the truth and my brother and give myself completely to the game.
My co-producer and I play the founders of the town. Keith plays Claude, and I play Cyrus.
Yeah, classic us. I weep at the sunset, and you shield your eyes from the sunrise.
Claude was born in Mississippi, the son of a slave owner, and hated everything about that. Womanizing individual. If there's a lady and a drink, then you're going to find him right there.
One gulp of whiskey, and I don't care what you have to say. Short-term fix to a long-term problem.
Cyrus is very intellectual, will think before he speaks.
Life is a test, and I'm studying civilization. Someone needs to understand how to run a city.
And so these two gentlemen meet with combined idea of that life should be happiness. It's written in the Declaration of Independence, life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. It's like, well, let's turn that up to 11 and see what happens.
This allows the show to explore modern issues through the safety glass of period fiction.
If I don't hope and fear and, yes, dread for the future, then who will? Tell me that. Who will?
You'll get so weak you'll be helpless.
It's like science fiction. That's all science fiction is just a stained glass window of our current times. Just viewing it through a veil. So race, gender, ability, background, we try as best as we can to get a writer from that experience. And then, of course, the modern issues are just going to come pouring out because that's what's on their mind, that's what they're feeling, that's what they're thinking, that's what they dealt with that morning.
I guess I always knew she'd leave me, somewhere deep down in whatever that place is where women can sense bad things coming, bad things that could feel like empty if empty had a feeling. I always had that when I was around Florence.
Make no mistake, this is not casual listening. It's not bubblegum for your ears. Pleasure Town is immersive, crafted prose. It's both art and commentary. But for Kehoe, it has also turned into an opportunity for a wandering Okie to leave an imprint on the world.
Pleasure Town was supposed to be 2 shows and done. And here we are. Who knew that hedonism plus Oklahoma was going to be the thing that started the fire? Just to know that you were not only consuming the art, but your fingerprint is on it. That's the best case scenario for me.
So Austin, where do they get the ideas for their shows?
Well, the producers set the broad strokes and then pass out the individual stories to a group of writers. But this group really encourages the audience to participate as well. They've used them for naming landmarks like, say, a river, but they also allow them to submit story ideas and occasionally actually produce that story. They do that because this is a group of people who came from the theater. They're used to hearing that immediate live feedback, that knowing if they're doing well or not. And so between that interaction and social media, that's how they gauge the direction of the show.
I have to also ask, where did you get that old black and white footage at the front of the story?
Well, that is some archive footage out of NBC from the late 40s. It's a real hoot, and it's available on our website if anyone wants to check it out.
All right, thank you so much, Austin. Now, if you'd also like to see more on the art of sound, just head over to our website at okhorizon.com and look for the technology behind the sound story under our value-added section.
Horizon is at your fingertips. Join us on Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube to catch the segments you may have missed and our latest new content as it happens.
Well, with all the holiday goodies that surround us this time of year, it's easy to pack on a few pounds. But my next guests say you can avoid holiday weight gain and holiday stress. Bashir Ahmad is a celebrity wellness expert, while Valerie McMurray is the wellness coordinator at Metro Technology Center, and they both join me now in studio. Well, what's the problem, Bashir, that we eat on Thanksgiving, we eat on Christmas? How can you pack on that many pounds?
Well, you know, Rob, it'd be a great thing if we just ate on Thanksgiving and Christmas. But what we do is we eat for the entire 6 weeks. As someone said earlier in the presentation, you eat Christmas Eve, you eat Thanksgiving Eve. You're lucky if you only do that. Most of us have leftovers, and we forget it's just about celebrating on the 2 holidays, but go back to your normal, healthy way of eating. If you only binge on 2 days out of the year, you're not gonna pack on pounds. The body can absorb that, metabolize it, and you're good. So it's about moderation, as with anything in life. Moderation during the holidays to keep that weight off.
I know for those of us here that work in an office setting and that don't really have particularly good impulse controls, there's a lot of food around. How do you avoid it?
You know, it's near impossible to be perfect in those type of settings, and I tell people don't try. When you shoot for perfection, you're always going to fall short, and you'll end up probably doing the opposite, which is binging. So set little goals for yourself. Say, okay, if we know they do a lot of chocolate, I'm only going to have 1 piece of something. Not I'm going to go back every little break and pick from the table again. And when you self-impose goals on yourself, our mind is set up to meet those goals. But if you just go in with a blank sheet, you're going to eat until your little heart is content, and a lot of times it doesn't get content.
And it is a very busy season. How do you work in exercise?
Well, I tell people you have to schedule it. The same way with most things during the holiday. For example, you have family coming in, you have all these parties and different things that you have to do. Schedule your workouts in a time frame that's actually doable. That stop reaching for unrealistic goals that you know you're not going to achieve, and then you beat yourself up for it afterwards. Be nice to you by setting things that you can achieve. It's good for your mind as well as good for your body.
Yeah, which really brings me to you, Valerie, and that's holiday stress, the holiday blues, all those things that we associate with the holidays that are somehow negative.
It is, and a lot of times that we've lost loved ones, and we think about the money maybe we don't have, and should I buy a gift? Should I not buy a gift? And we just put all that stress on ourselves. And as we know, stress is not good for our bodies. Yeah, the hypertension, the diabetes, it really tears down our body. So we suggest to try to get ahead of these holidays by setting goals, as Bashir have already said. Set some goals and decide that, you know, I'm only going to spend a certain amount of money on gifts, or I'm going to plan ahead, and before I go in that grocery store, I'm going to make a list and decide that I'm going to purchase exactly what I want to purchase, rather than just going in the store and just buying everything that you see. And learning to say no, because I know so many times during the holidays, we get invited to a lot of parties, we get invited to a lot of activities, and we get really stressed out, and stress is horrible for the bodies. So we really need to make sure that we just kind of stay focused and not let the holidays get us off of our game. And just plan, like Bashir said, even for the exercise, we have to plan mentally as well what it is that we want to do and how we want to handle the holidays. So.
Yes, and another thing, Robert, is I always tell people, be nice to yourself. It's you. At the end of the day, beginning of the day, it's you with you. Be kind to yourself. If you're not up to doing something, honor yourself and say no. You have that right. And I don't feel like we can honor ourselves as human beings. Honor yourself by living a healthy life, but also honor yourself by keeping yourself away from negative influences that you know tear you down through stress and then other triggers.
Mm-hmm. And I know I also want you to take me through an in-office workout, and we will have that on our website at okhorizon.com. You'll see Bashira make me sweat a bit. Ladies, thank you so much.
Okay,
Thank you for having us.
Next time on Oklahoma Horizon, we look at the value of adding value to everything from raw commodities to our workforce.
We come in here and built this facility so that the producers would have a place to add value to their meal.
An Oklahoma show for the heartland, Oklahoma Horizon. Well, thanks for including us as part of your day. I'm Rob McClendon. Hope to see you back here next week.